welcome to the Catholic Forge, a conversational podcast where we gather to explore our Catholic faith and discuss how it forms our lives. All are welcome to join in this conversation and journey. Thank you for listening. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Eric in Missouri.
And this is John in Illinois, and we're joined by a special guest.
Hi, this is Joe in Illinois.
Well, John, you've brought along a Padawan learner for this episode. I don't think that we have covered any other topic by title as much in our 78 episodes of this podcast as we have Star Wars. This is our third Star Wars episode talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. Now you saw in the title of the episode, this is a spoiler cast. And so there is not going to be any, don't listen to this part if you haven't seen the movie.
You should have seen the movie. So
yeah.
Get out there. Don't listen to this unless you've heard it.
If you haven't seen the film, stop this episode now. Go see the movie, come back, and then listen, okay? We are not going to hold back at all. We're going to get right to it, deep spoilers, and so please, for your sake, we don't want to ruin the movie for you. Go watch it first. That being said, let's get right to it, and I'd like to start with Joe. This is awesome that you got to go see this movie in the theaters. Have you seen any Star Wars movies in the theaters besides this one? Did you see The Last Jedi?
Well, yeah, but we own it, and I didn't see it in theaters.
Okay.
So this is our first Star Wars movie that we've seen as a family in the theaters. We've been waiting a long time for this, and finally one came out that we could go see.
Well, Joe, tell us all about it.
Well, I gotta say, probably my favorite parts
Sure.
was in the ending when Han Solo was working for the bad guy or whatever. He had a choice if he wanted to keep working for him or quit.
For Beckett, yeah.
Yeah.
And what choice did he end up making?
What does he do? Yeah.
I don't really know. I can describe it.
Does he end up making a choice to work for the bad guy or not?
He doesn't.
He doesn't. Why is that your favorite part?
Well, it's kind of like us because we have a choice if we want to go to heaven or not. And we can ruin that by doing not so good things, but we can save that by doing great things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really beautifully said. And Han, he picks the better way. Although he knows, I think, in his heart that he has to kill Beckett, and he shoots him dead. Which of course is a nod to this whole Han shoots first business, which we won't get into right now. But he shoots Beckett. And then with his dying words, Beckett says, "You made the smart
you did
choice.
The right thing. I was going to kill you."
Yeah, he's like, "I would have killed you." Which is difficult. That's hard to. You want to trust Beckett, but then you know that he's a bad guy, pretty through and through. And so, Han made the difficult choice, but the right one. What other parts were your favorite, Joe? Anything that really stood out that was a lot of fun?
Well, I also enjoyed the one scene when Han is talking to the those like Sand Raider guys, whatever, and he tells them that he has a ship, and then Lando just randomly flies away.
Right. When they're on whatever the planet is after the whole Kessel business. And he's bragging about, all right, what did he say, that he has there's an army surrounding you or something like that?
I have a whole group of people that are ready to come fight for us. And then it flies away. What did you think about Lando? Did you like Lando being in the movie?
Well, yeah, I love that one scene where his robot his robot dies and
Sure.
he's crying.
Sure.
You like that scene?
Yeah.
Why do you think he was so upset about the robot dying?
I don't know. He kind of cared for it, I guess.
Sure. There was a certain kind of love there between him and his robot. It didn't seem like he had a lot of friends, but the robot was with him all the time. And so I guess that they were close in a way of speaking. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything about Chewbacca that you liked, or finding Chewie?
I don't really know. I mean, it's been a while since we saw the movie.
Remember they found him down in the mud pit there?
Yeah.
Yeah. That scared me a little. Did that scare you at all when
Yeah.
Chewie came out? Yeah, a little scary.
It also kind of scared me in that one Darth Maul scene.
Wasn't that fantastic? Yeah, I want to get to that scene too.
They brought him back.
Oh, we will.
Yeah. Well, any other thoughts about the movie, Joe, that you wanted to share?
Not really right now.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on. Joe, how old are you?
I am 9.
You're 9 years old, and this is your first Star Wars movie. A Day to Remember.
Movie, not movie.
All right, you. Okay, so we're going to have Joe go ahead, and he's going to head out back to playing with his brothers and sisters. But thanks for joining us. It was a lot of fun to hear from you. And hopefully we'll have you back to talk about Super Mario or other video games.
Wahoo! Okay, thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Well, thank you, John, for compelling your son to come in and share that. What would my first Star Wars movie have been? I guess Episode 1.
Yeah.
Or did I? Or no. I did go see one of them when they re-released.
Yeah.
No, I saw. Did I see all 3? I can't remember. Episode 1 stands out the most because I had watched the original trilogy so many times.
Yeah. Episode 1 was the first one that I saw at release in the theaters.
Right.
But I did we were just in high school when they did the re-release just before they did those. And I went and I saw some of those. I think I saw all 3 of them in the theaters, but that was 20-some years after the original release.
Yeah. Well, I hope that he will cherish this. It is a special thing, and knowing that you keep the Sabbath of Star Wars,
yes,
in your home, that's really cool.
When the kids were little, it was actually, or Joe was little. I can actually distinctly remember needing bedtime stories for him, and I ran out of making up caterpillar stories and butterflies and frogs and whatever, and I thought, I'll tell him the Star Wars trilogy. I thought I'll get at least a couple weeks out of this. So I gave him little installments of the original Star Wars trilogy. As a little kid, he's probably 1, 2, just about that age where he's starting to, and it was really neat. He knew all the characters. He knew all of their parts. He knew and he had never seen it. He could have a full-fledged conversation with somebody. I remember he had a conversation with Marco at the church, and about Star Wars, and Marco's like, I can't believe you let your kids watch Star Wars. Isn't that a little too violent? It's like, he's never seen it. And they were just shocked because he had such a command of the story. He just sucked it up. So I always wish I could see how his perception in his mind was of the story from hearing it versus what it turned out to be. But he's been an avid Star Wars fan. And Michael's first words, I kid you not, was Star Wars.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show, Joe, and thank you, John, for putting that together. There's a lot to say here about this movie, and he had some great points, and certainly some great moments. I'm still not sure how I feel about the movie overall. I didn't come away with it with just the sort of glorious joy that I've received from other installments in the Star Wars franchise. But then again, that's not what this movie is about, and so I'm not trying to compare this to The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. We know that these John, what are they called? The legacy, the legacy films,
expanded universe stuff.
Is the legacy true? Anyway, not 8, 9, 10, but
or 7, 8, 9. Skywalker saga.
Yeah, this is not 7, 8, 9. Whatever. Let's just call it the story trio. I'll look it up later what it's really called. But those films, Rogue One, obviously was such a departing from the standard design, even to the point where there's no like that's all taken away. All that stuff from the beginning, there's no scroll. We have that here again in Solo, where they have the text in that classic font but doesn't scroll. It just comes up and it goes. And so they tell you right at the top, this is not your dad's Star Wars or your grandpa's Star Wars.
I really appreciated that. And if you listen to our podcast on the Last Jedi, I felt like it was just rebooting hundreds of scenes we've already seen and not much new. You know, we just have the same kind of battles. It's just the retelling of the same story, and it didn't go anywhere else in this galactic universe that we have of the expanded universe of Star Wars, and that's what I appreciate so much about Rogue One and the Solo movie is we got away from seeing the standard of everything. We got to see a whole different type of battle scene, you know, right in the beginning when Solo's running it, very World War I, World War II feel to it. Not in the beginning, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you know, when he's there on the planet, you know, he's in the Imperial troops there. What a cool version, a completely different type of look at the Star Wars universe and battles, and even though there are stormtroopers and stuff like that, it's not the same. It's not the same as just Luke versus that. And so I really enjoyed that, and I think it and Rogue One are the ones that have excited me the most since the original trilogy. I did like both The Last Jedi, with some caveats, and The Force Awakens. I was pretty pleased with that. It was good, but I think these really were a completely new departure, and we get to see other characters and other events going on. So I went on too long there. Sorry about that.
No, it's cool, man. I mean, there's so much to say, and what I appreciate, I want to resonate and just extend on that a little bit. That once again, like in Rogue One, we get to see the reach of the Empire. And in the original trilogy, you know, you get the sense that, like, they're really powerful, but you don't understand that they've literally dominated a galaxy. You know, a galactic cluster of planets and districts, an outer rim. Like, the only place where they aren't is the place no one wants to be, in the outer rim.
Yeah.
and here we get to see another layer. We begin on Corellia, which, of course, for the deep lore fans know that's where the Corellian freighters come from, that you see in the first shot of Episode 4, that Princess Leia and all those people are on. And so now we're in Corellia. And one of the very first shots, we're looking up into orbit, into the creation of a Star Destroyer. And what a great moment when they're trying to get out of Kessel, and they're going through the maelstrom or whatever they called it, and boom, there's a Star Destroyer. Yeah. And if it was any other Star Wars movie, you would say, oh, Star Destroyer, big deal. But you haven't seen one for an hour and 45 minutes. And then suddenly, boom, and you feel the weight of it in a new way. I also love that we got to see Empire recruiting stations. You know?
Yes, it was delightful. And that was what was so nice, is we actually developed something. Instead of just seeing the same old thing over, we got to see a development. You know, very much like, I sign up here, here's the thing, you're gonna get this much pay. It's very real, unglamorous.
You could hear the Empire theme, which some of my friends did not like, that because it was kind of fourth wallish, you know, because I mean, that music doesn't exist in the story. It exists on top of the story for us. And so but when they're walking by the booth, you can hear the little it's
I thought
fun.
It was delightful.
Yeah, it's just fun, but I see where some of my friends were coming from. Like, it breaks the fourth wall, man. That music does. Okay, so fair enough. John Williams is true. Maybe he does exist in two galaxies. That's possible. I don't know, but you get it. You get a feel for all that, and then. So again, they're pulling the camera, they're pulling the lens further back and further back. The weight and power of the Empire, its dominion, and all the more do we cherish, finally, at last, we see the little mustard seed of the rebellion. As in, they don't even have a bankroll yet, you know? And they're like, hey, you got all this cash, maybe you want to, like, put it down as an investment in the rebellion? And he's like, no. And then, of course, the movie ends with them, with Chewie and Han, going to Tatooine, where a, quote, big shot gangster, unquote, is putting together a job. Yeah. The gangster, of course, being Jabba the Hutt. And so they give us that grace note that leads us to Episode 4. And indeed, that establishes the whole reason that Han was going there. Apparently, in between now and then is when this job happens that makes him owe Jabba money. So the spirit of it's there. the execution in places, oof, the whole, oh, John, I don't know. My head's spinning. Take us somewhere.
Yeah, I'll take you for a second there. I can
Thanks.
see you're pulling your hair out. One of the things that I thought was delightful about it was I was worried that this was going to be a coming of age kind of story. I saw a preview. Han's out stealing cars, it looks like, and he's just going to be a rebellious youth.
Right, yeah.
And I thought, I don't want to see this kind of stuff. And I was delighted to see that wasn't the case, that it wasn't just an angsty youth that's been running around and getting in trouble and then ends up doing some good. He's actually, an oppressed person trying to get out of slavery and bondage for a higher cause, and goes down some roads that maybe aren't so good, but it wasn't that kind of just coming of age story, which I was very thankful for, and I think that helped me. I was like, oh, this is good. But when I saw that coming, I thought, oh no. So I was glad that didn't come out. As the core theme of the movie is just how much of a jerk he was, or as a wild teen.
In a review from IGN, that's kind of a video gamey but more like popular culture news outlet, Jim writes in his review, and I really appreciate this, but while the movie, gets the trappings and appearances right, Solo never delivers on the promise of finding out why Han became who he was in A New Hope. It just explains how he got his stuff. Now, I heard that before I went to see the movie, and I was hoping that somehow Jim was wrong, that he hadn't quite grasped the fullness of the film. And he's a professional journalist. Why would I think that? But I thought, maybe he didn't. Maybe I'm going to see it in a different way. I walked away from it feeling that way as well. That we spend so much time on the dice and the blaster.
Dozens of little throw-ins there. Yeah, I've got a good feeling about this, and the arm tearing off.
Yeah, and the sabacc, the games even, all that kind of stuff. Okay, I get it. But I kind of agreed that we have this really powerful motivation, like you said. He wants to get off of this planet, this industrial planet, Corellia, and that's all we kind of get. Like, Kira's there, but kind of as an accessory by the end, even though she rises to this powerful position in the Crimson Dawn. I felt like I really didn't get to know him a whole lot better, except to establish this is where the Millennium Falcon came from. You already knew it, but now you got to see it.
I'm not sure that I agree with that analysis. As an action film goes, the Harrison Ford movies were never overly had depth in them in terms of like Indiana Jones and things like that. I feel like this does a better job, though. I think we do get to see a decent amount of his character. I mean, his motivation is loyalty. I mean, we really get to see his core character is loyalty to this girl. He's going to be loyal, and then he's even loyal when he's lost the shipment and he can bail out and have nothing to do with Crimson Tide. He can be out.
Crimson Dawn.
Sorry
but major props to Crimson Tide and all the 90s submarine movies. Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Crimson Dawn. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we do get to see a great deal of his character in that loyalty and motivation. Sure. So I'm not sure that we don't know. Maybe we don't have his complete backstory. How does he end up on this planet? Get there, but that doesn't help me much more. But we do get to see who he is. I think. I think we get more of that than we get how he gets there, because we don't know how he ended up on the planet. We don't know the circumstances that brought them there, but we get to see the value of his characters and his moral structure,
right? Imperfect
as it is.
Maybe I was imperfect in that explanation, where that we have. I think that I'm with Jim though in that they didn't paint enough of a picture as to the reasoning of how we would get from the end of Solo to the beginning of Episode 4, where I think that this movie
is going to come in Solo 2.
I hope not. We'll get to box office performance in a minute, and the massive implications of this film in the Disney universe and in all that. But I would say that this movie it paints the frame in, but not a lot of detail on the image itself, and that just carving out a deeper niche about who Han is. I didn't know what was going to happen with the whole Kira thing, because it's my own fault the bias I have from seeing the other movies and loving them so much, it's hard to see him with any woman but Leia. And so you're in like there were times when I was like, is this Princess Leia in disguise? Like, I know it wasn't her, but because I mean she's younger and she's somewhere else in the universe, the galaxy, hanging out on that Corellian freighter. Who knows? But to see him with Kira and they have this romance and it's really strong, and then it's, kind of conflicted because of her rise in power, supposed rise in power and all this stuff. And you have these feelings about it, and then they leave and he sacrifices that relationship for freedom. It's a lot of layers there, but I'm going to stick with Jim where I would have liked to have seen it as a little less stuff attention and a little more solo attention on him, because there was so much time spent. Now, that being said, I think the character you're not going to find on the cast list who deserves to be there is the Millennium Falcon, who just really holds this movie together, because there's such I'm sure there's some term for it that they use, but there's such a Star Wars-ness about this,
and there's such an
vessel.
affection for the Millennium Falcon. It is.
I mean, you almost
thing.
love it more than him.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
in that scene when Han and Chewie in The Force Awakens, when they go on to the ship, and Han says, "Chewie, we're home." I mean, that brought tears to my eyes almost. It was such a beautiful moment. Yeah. You
wish they hadn't ruined it in the trailer, because it would have been so emotional in the theater to see on opening night, while we're at the Falcon, the one thing I disliked was the ending, the very, very ending, where he goes back and he rolls in with the vial of coaxium. They're giving us more lore than we need with that. We got Kyber crystals. We got coaxium. Thank you very much. He rolls in with the coaxium and he rolls it down. And what I would like to have seen is he just walks in and he kind of shows him the coaxium, and Lando looks up and like, "You want a rematch?" And then and Han just kind of smirks at him, and that's because we know he wins the Sabacc match. We know he gets the Millennium Falcon. Everyone knows that. But for the non-Star Wars fans, they've got to play it out. I like that it felt very... Do you remember that movie in the 90s? Maverick, with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster. Did you ever see that movie?
I cannot recall that.
It's not a great movie, but Mel Gibson plays a card player and a gunfighter.
Oh, yeah. It's in a Western movie. That's
right. So that really felt a lot like that. Which I really liked, because I like that movie.
Well, they connected to Maz there too. That's in her tavern.
Yeah. So he gets that, and so I can appreciate why they did that, but I felt like it would have had a better punch at the end if it had just been like a smirk and then right to the credits. Lando, I'm just kind of, again, I'm just firing all over the place. I thought that Donald Glover was really great.
I agree.
Are you aware of the issues they had with the directors for this film? Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so originally, the film was going to be directed by, and I don't want to say their names, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who are responsible for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, 21 Jump Street, the Lego Movie, that kind of stuff, right? And so they were working on the film for quite a while. And then in 2017, about a year ago from now, June 2017 or so, they showed footage to the producers at Disney. And they said, "Hey, this is what we got." And the producers hated it. The producers, the EPs, the people who make the decisions, they despised it because it was too 21 Jump Street-y bro humor, kind of thing, especially between Solo and Lando, apparently. But who knows? That footage is somewhere. Maybe some tables.
That'll be delightful in some extended cut coming out. Yeah.
So they scrapped that, and apparently it cost like $100 million to start from scratch in June 2017, and they reshot immense amounts of footage, and of course they brought in a great choice in Ron Howard, who I mean, he's made every movie you love, Do you want me to list some?
No.
Okay.
We all know his accomplishments. Go on.
Well,
So
he was also on the Andy Griffith Show when he was anyway. So so he comes in and he takes the project forward, and then of course here it is. And so who knows what, and maybe that's why they got Donald Glover in the first place, was to play that kind of Lando. So now we get him in this much more, mysterious,
robot
serious kind. Oh, man, I don't know what to say. John.
that creeps Cecilia out a little on that one.
I'll accept it. Fine. The only thing I really like about it is that she is theoretically uploaded into the Navi computer,
Yes.
and so like that, and he's like, she's a part of the ship now. And it's like, that's cool. I mean, that's nice.
It
Like,
was an odd statement, I thought, because now she's part of the ship and belongs to somebody else. So it was just.
Like, he didn't ask Han for a flash drive. Like, hey man,
I suppose all that it does is it
gosh.
just reaffirms that the Millennium Falcon is par excellence. There is just something absolutely radically unique about it among other ships, and so it just leaves us with that. But otherwise, that was kind of a throwaway thing.
Yeah, I want to get to its performance and to the implications for other Star Wars films. Wrap this up, or this section, John, please.
Well, I think we're done with that section. I think before we get to that, go ahead. Let's jump into that, and then I think we should just look at the end a little bit of the moral suggestions of it, and the characters and the virtues that we saw in it. But what were you going to say about the box office? From what I had saw, it had done very poorly in comparison to other Star Wars movies.
Also, I'm sorry, not Darth Maul, just Maul. Because he can't be, because he's not a disciple of the Emperor anymore. So he's just Maul. Not necessary. Just totally for the fan pop.
Yeah, I thought that was wonderful. I've been waiting for Darth Maul to return, and what it does is this sets us up for the Ben Kenobi movie. Darth Maul is still out there and active, and they're gonna have a giant battle at some point in time.
Well, they battled in the Star Wars Rebels animated show.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I really don't understand how the whole continuity thing works now. The extended unit, I don't know. I really don't. So we'll see if we see it. Not necessary, but it wouldn't be a Star Wars movie if they didn't give you at least a little lightsaber. So they did. Thank you, I guess.
I thought him lighting up his lightsaber was a little over the top, but I was delighted to see that Darth Maul was back. I've been waiting to see him.
I wonder if they'll have him with the forelegs like he had in the Clone Wars, but I don't know what they're gonna do with him. Emilia Clarke was marvelous. P.S. Pretty solid casting all around. Woody Harrelson. I mean, Woody Harrelson and Emilia Clarke brought a lot into the game.
Yeah, I agree. Woody Harrelson was very good in the film. I feel like this is the character he plays all the time in these movies, though.
Yeah.
And so
morally compromised, father figure kind of.
I'm a good guy. I'm the bad version of Han Solo. I'm not quite as good.
Yeah.
But I'm not, and that was a little disappointing to me because as soon as I saw Woody Harrelson, I knew his whole role in the movie. Because that seems to be the character that he's played in all of these recent films.
Yeah, he's basically the same guy he is in like the Hunger Games. Like, I'm older, I'm more experienced, I'm a fighter, but I'm a drunk and I'm morally compromised, so don't trust me. Now he proves trustworthy in that story, but you don't know it until like 4 movies into whatever it is.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, is he in Guardians of the Galaxy? Is he the blue guy or the Mohawk guy?
No, that's the guy from The Walking Dead who played Merle.
That's right. They're very similar though in their character portrayal.
Yeah, father figure, warrior, trustworthy. Don't trust me. I don't know how to make the right decision. I'll make the right decision at the very, very end. Yeah.
Very, very much so. So I felt like that. I felt like I knew his character right off the bat from the beginning. It was well done. I'm always a little concerned when he's in a movie, but he's always turns out being okay. Yeah.
And a little shout out to Paul Bettany because I had just seen my third viewing of Avengers Infinity War and saw Paul Bettany there as Vision, and then I went and saw Solo, and there Paul Bettany was as Dryden Voss, and so he's a great actor to be able to handle the complexities there. Tandy Newton, who just came flying out of Westworld too, so good for her for landing the big role.
Does this mean there are going to be less Star Wars though because they didn't kill it in the box office?
Okay, so that's exactly the point. And so we're looking at rough figures here. The budget for Solo was $275 million, and as of this day on Wikipedia, which may not have the most exact figures, John, it's done $354.2 million. Now, just to put that in perspective, but Disney just bought 21st Century Fox. Did you know this?
No.
Do you know how much they spent to buy this company?
How much?
Yes.
$1 billion.
Higher.
Well, I could get to it. $2.5 billion.
$71
Wow.
billion.
$71 billion. I can't even imagine.
So, let me do some clicking and clacking, just to confirm that. Yeah, the whole idea that they're going to change the lineup of Star Wars movies or delay some of them over less than $100 million when they just cut a $71 billion check is preposterous. But that is the way they view these films. This is the bread and butter, the salt and pepper of their industry, is what they put in front of us in the theaters. So here's what happened, and it just came out. A lot of the might of Disney is being focused on Episode 9, and indeed, it's going to be a huge, huge movie because it's going to wrap up the Skywalker story. It's going to be, please don't let this be the one that blows, because it needs to be the best of this first phase of films. I hope it will be.
Agreed.
They had 2 other side stories in the works. And actually, these have never been confirmed, which is why this is a little shaky ground, but everyone's pretty sure that they're there. The rumors are really strong. And it's, as you said before, an ObiWan Kenobi movie and a solo film about Boba Fett.
Yes.
And which is great. Now, I'm just going to come out and say it, and you can disagree. I don't have any hard evidence to back this up, but I think people are upset. Some fans are, because obviously these films would be wonderful to watch. But what I'm saying is, why didn't they put Obi-Wan Kenobi in the driver's seat? Why didn't he get the first spin-off film? I think that he is more loved than Han Solo, truly, by Star Wars fans.
I wouldn't see that. I would even put the Boba Fett movie before the Kenobi movie. Except Ewan McGregor is a wonderful actor, and I'm delighted to see him take up the role again. I hope that he will.
He has said that he would do it.
Yeah.
He's been saying it for years. He's like, I would do it, I would do it, I would do it. He's raising his hand in the back of the room like, guys, I remember how to... Oh, man, it would be such a treat.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, while being a tremendously important character, is also a bit of a flat character. He's a bit boring. He's got that dry British wit, especially in the Clone Wars.
Sure.
He isn't the same action hero level. And see, the idea is, all you have to think about is an Indiana Jones movie. There you have a Han Solo who runs a whole show franchise himself. Why wouldn't we just be able to tap that? I mean, and that's really what they're doing. We're just tapping the Indiana Jones series, in another way. Because, Han Solo is the Indiana Jones of the Star Wars galaxy. And so it makes sense to me that they would go with Solo first, because he is a archetypal character that has been able to carry his own show and his own brand. And so to me, it would make sense, and I was delighted with it. I think it should have done better in the box offices. I don't know why it didn't, if it was promotion or just the change and stuff. But I hope that it will not prevent them from making either one of those films. I'm very excited to see a Kenobi film and a Boba Fett film.
The all that they have said, that the only thing we have in writing is that the attention is being put on Episode 9. Excuse me. And that there are 2 other trilogies, John. 6 more movies in the pipeline.
Wow.
The Ryan Johnson trilogy, which will be about the Newsies at the end of episode 8. Do you remember the little
I
kids
do,
with
and
the
I
broom?
think he should be banned from making any Star Wars films. Go ahead.
Yeah,
He's got to
we'll
win my
see.
trust again.
And
I
then-
feel like
and
he
then,
purposely tried to get us. All that you love, I'm gonna mock.
And then there's another trilogy directed by, I cannot remember their names. If you'll allow me just a moment to clickety-clack on over on Wikipedia, by David Benioff, by David and D.B. Weiss, who are very much responsible for Game of Thrones on HBO. And so who knows what that is going to be. Would I try an R-rated Star Wars film? Absolutely, I would. I mean, certainly they're not going to take it to the level of Game of Thrones, but I will say, though, that in these recent seasons, the level of storytelling, unbelievable. So that has a lot of promise. But that being said, that series will probably come. It'll either be straddled against the Rian Johnson series, or it'll be after. So it would be like 2023, 2024, we would even start to see them. So kind of put it out of sight and mind. Anyway, so we have the 2 spin-off movies, Obi-Wan and Boba Fett. I'm with you. The older Ewan McGregor gets, the better. Just let him age, and he'll look better. If indeed we're going to get this Obi-Wan in the desert hanging out with Qui-Gon Jinn through the Force
Going
stuff.
to fight Darth Maul every now and then, it'll be great.
He's left over Order 66 agents, the bounty hunters we meet in Empire Strikes Back, they're out there. They've been around. What are they doing? Jabba knows that there's a Jedi in his backyard. He isn't like that. So there's a lot there. So we'll see what that looks like. It's preposterous, the amount of Star Wars we're getting right now. To think of Joe, and now it's like his life now is going to be a Star Wars movie every year until he's 17.
Yeah, we had to go almost 20-some years here between movies. It's not quite fair, I don't think.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a series where we see the Old Republic. Back, just get us to a whole new brand of Star Wars. No Empire, just armies of Sith fighting the Jedi, in that whole old world, that Old Republic. It's just an incredibly untapped universe.
Yeah. Anthology films are what they're called. These are the part of the anthology films. Oh gosh darn it. I forgot to ask Joe the lightsaber color question. I feel like such a dummy. I even mentioned it. What do you think he would say?
Pick green. He adores the green lightsaber.
Emerald green, Return of the Jedi green.
Yep. That Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker lightsaber is his.
Outstanding. John, please give us the final word on Star Wars.
Yeah, not to we've gone long enough. I was very pleased with the movie. I went into it, of course, being concerned, as I had said, and I was worried about not only the teenage angst kind of thing, but also how do you take Harrison Ford? He's such an incredible actor in these genres. How do you get somebody to replace him? And I was very pleased with that. I thought it was well done. I really liked the while Han is not always a virtuous character and does get involved with seedy fellows, I do like his moral compass and the fact that he's always guided. And that was something that has always been alluded to. He's a smuggler beforehand and stuff like that. Was Leia and him coming to help Luke at the destruction of the first Death Star, was that his first good noble action in his life? Is that when it changed for him? Because then when we jump into The Force Awakens, we're back to him being back to a smuggler. He's left Leia. So was that just this intermittent good that there was just for a couple years there, and then he goes back to being really a bad person? It was nice to see that there's been a continuity in his life, that there's been a moral center, while not always executed well, that was there. And I was pleased to see that he always is choosing, not always, sorry, that would be the wrong way to say it, that he chooses the higher good when it really matters. And I was pleased to see that in his character. And I think that makes it a winning thing. And Joe had mentioned that to me before when I had asked him what he liked about the movie. And he mentioned that to us, is that when he had the choice to help these people or to do the bad guy, that actually was his delivered point, that he got that. So I was pleased with that.
certainly rather profound themes of friendship and partnership between him and Chewbacca. Strangers set at odds against each other. The nerds say, is this the life debt? We don't know. They didn't clarify that. We learn of that later on, but we don't know if this is it or not. Whether it is or it isn't, we see that forging of that remarkable bond, that they share this partnership, which goes on, I mean, beyond the reach of the films at this point anyway. So some good material for reflection there. And John, thank you for putting it into practice with your son, where, you can take your kids to these movies and talk about it. Enjoy popcorn, the really fancy Coke machine where you can get 147 variations of Coca-Cola. What a delight. But also engage in them and engage in that kind of ministry of evaluation, the Ignatian examination, as it were, to really get the most out of this content as you enjoy it. Yeah. Well, this has been the Catholic Forge. Thank you for listening. We'd like to close, as always, with a prayer and a blessing. May God the Father, God the Son,
and God the Holy Spirit bless you, guard you, and lead you to eternal life. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for listening to the Catholic Forge. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and will leave us a positive rating and review wherever you listen. How about 5 stars for Star Wars? And if you haven't heard the other 2 episodes about Star Wars, check in the description box below. You can help out this show in a big way by sharing it with your friends and family. Do you have Star Wars fans in your life? I know you do. Share it with them. As always, you can continue the conversation with us on Facebook and Twitter, and to get a hold of us, you can reach us at thecatholicforge@gmail.com. For more information regarding the podcast, visit our website at www.thecatholicforge.com. We especially thank our celestial wives, galactic fine. I think that's what you said last time in the last Star Wars episode.
Did I? I was thinking maybe we should say like our non-solo wives, because they aren't alone, but that just doesn't work. It doesn't.
We didn't even mention that very clever giving of his last name, because he, you for as much as we talked about how he ended up there, we didn't learn anything about the family. He has no family. What? He has no family? Was he also born of midichlorians? Possible. I don't know. But there he is, solo indeed. No, they're not solo, much to their chagrin. We especially thank Galactic Non-Solo and Celestial Wives for their continued support of this project, and we thank you very much for listening.